Hey, if you look up Jem's Art Studio, they have this beautiful Ukrainian sunflower. It's absolutely worth checking out. All the profits are going to go to help Ukrainian charity, so please check it out. It'll be great. All the links will be below in the description and probably here in the picture. But yeah, go help them out. Ukrainians are going through hell right now.
This Organized Chaos video is brought to you by Jem's Art Studio. Jem's Art Studio is an online store that allows access to prints that you can use for most anything, obviously as just a picture, or as a wallpaper, or as a bookmark, or anything you can think of. You can find Jem's Art Studio at etsy.com/shop/Jem's Art Studio. This video is also brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello. God, these reaction videos are fun and they're easy. I enjoy doing them. The Jimmy Dore reaction video, it's doing quite well. It might overtake my last Marvel vs. DC video, which is kind of shocking. It's getting ratioed all to hell. Lots of people are hating on it. But as I said in my last video, I'm just being honest with you guys. When you see my reactions, I'm being honest. This is me. I made the choice a while ago. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to shill for anybody. It's just me, my honest opinion on things. So if you don't like my reaction, then enjoy hate watching. I hope you continue hate watching. I feed on your hate. Give it to me. Give it to me now. No, really. For today's video, God, we're going to be hitting Daily Wire again. We're hitting Daily Wire too much, so we're definitely not going to be hitting them for the next couple episodes. But I stumbled across something, I just had to address it. A Daily Wire, I assume either it's a new member of the Daily Wire family or it's a guest contributor, but he's a good old-fashioned friend to the channel. If you saw my Comicsgate video, you're going to recognize him real fast. He's Mr. My video production involves pointing a camera at a computer screen and pointing at stuff with my pen. Real professional grade stuff, like, whew, like, wow. Just really, really great stuff. So yeah, we have a returning guest. It's gonna be good old-fashioned friend to the show, Ethan Van Sciver. Comicsgate individual. If you don't know Comicsgate, I actually did a whole video about it where I learned about it because I didn't know about it. But what this guy did is he did a whole bunch of essentially GoFundMes and stuff like that. Raised over $1 million for his Cyberfrog comic series that has, quite frankly, performed terribly. Comicsgate tries to sell themselves as not that they're against diversity, but they are for people, comic book companies voting with their wallet and going with the stuff that sells the best. So this guy's a major Comicsgate figure, and his comic does quite terribly. Not only that, he did a huge GoFundMe, raised over $1 million for a comic book, which is an insane amount of money. And, of course, he's under publishing massively. He hasn't remotely reached what he was supposed to do with that money. Gee whiz, I wonder what he's actually doing with it. But he decided to go ahead and jump onto the Daily Wire, because of course he did. And he did a video with them. Oh, joy. Yeah, I browsed over it so I could see who it was, and let's see what he has to say. I'm really quite excited, you know.
You're a veteran of the comic book industry. People call me the world's most charming, disarming, elegant, eloquent, and yet humble man. So Comicsgate is a consumer reaction to SJWs, social justice warriors, who have basically infiltrated and taken over the comic book industry. There seem to be drastic changes made to beloved characters that were created by great people, great creative people.
These aren't actually changes to the characters. They're different iterations of the characters, which is fairly common in comic books. Like, Hal Jordan wasn't the original Green Lantern. Barry Allen was not the original Flash. They're the most famous iterations, but there are other iterations, and these are just new iterations. And yeah, they are frequently trying to do people of color or, things like that to help broaden their horizon, reach a broader audience. I honestly don't care as long as they're well written, and yeah, that's where I stand. As long as they write them well, go ahead, have fun. I just want good characters. I don't care.
People decades ago, and they fell into the hands of activists who just decided, well, comics, they seem a little bit sexist. They seem a little bit racist. These people create.
I don't know if they're racist. They definitely do border on the sexism stuff with how they depict women sometimes. I mean, you could argue, yeah, the men are super muscular too, but like the women, like almost all the women will have like big boobs, little EB waist, and like skimpy outfits that perfectly show all the curves. Men won't necessarily have that. They'll have the perfect body still, but won't. So it is kind of, yeah. And honestly, what's wrong with giving, like, they don't all need to be white people. What's wrong with giving a little bit more diversity to the characters? I don't see an issue with it.
Created problems and then announced that they were the solution. They were the answer. They were the fix for all of these problems that they insisted existed, even though comic book fans loved comics. Not only were the...
Well, yeah, but they have to change. I don't... Yeah.
The comic books becoming unreadable, but the creative people had...
Comic books becoming unreadable? Source?
Had gone from just being liberals to being woke activists who were abusing the customers. This was...
Abusing the customers by putting people of color in comic books? What the fuck, dude? Dude, you have a privileged life if that's your bar for abuse. Jesus.
Clearly, these were the politics of the author that had worked their way into the book. And people start...
Well, politics are everywhere. Are you going to argue that this isn't your politics acting out? Is that your argument? That you're politically free in your current argument? Because no.
Started to complain.
I'm sorry to break this to you, but Captain America is a social justice warrior. And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Problem solved.
Wasn't too long before Thor had become a woman. It's like okay. Iron Man became a teenage black girl. Mockingbird, who is Hawkeye's girlfriend, was seen wearing a t-shirt that said, "Ask me about my feminist agenda."
Oh my god! Ah! No, like, people freaked out about this t-shirt, and yeah, I don't get it. I do not get what the outrage is. It's a t-shirt. Get the fuck over it, you snowflake.
Bruce Banner, the Hulk, was replaced by an Asian kid who liked being the Hulk. Robin is by...
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that Amadeus Cho? And didn't he experiment to become the Hulk or something like that? Where's my phone? I'm gonna Google this real fast. Yeah, but I mean, it's a different character. There's still Bruce Banner, so... Okay, I don't know the full backstory. I'm just doing some quick reading on it. Yes, it is Amadeus Cho. Apparently, he removed the Hulk from Bruce Banner and placed it in his body. I mean, there's changes like that in comic books all the time. I guess it might have been at least a few years ago now, but I remember the big storyline for a while was Dr. Octopus was in Spider-Man's body, and I think that went on for a while, too. Shit like that happens in comic books. I mean, is your argument just I don't like change? Because, hell, fuck, I don't remember the Rush quote, but essentially it's the only constant in life is change. So, grow up, get used to it.
Bisexual and exploring his sexuality, and that's an event. That's an actual event in comics now.
My God, how dare these characters represent diverse groups of their readers? What the fuck is wrong with them? Jesus Christ, get over it, man.
There's always been diversity in comics. There's always been plenty of characters that are people of color. There have been more than enough women, I think. There have been quite a few.
Yes, there have been more than enough women, so we don't need any more women in comic books. We already have the quota. We're done. They all have to be white men now. We're sorry. Just no more. Just the number of women you had at 1991, those are the ones you can keep. All the other ones have to become white men. We're sorry. The quota has been reached. That's what we're going to be doing now. Jesus Christ.
You LGBTQ characters, everybody can relate.
Now, I would say, I don't know what it is now. I don't know if it's been addressed. But, like, the bigger issue would be having people of color actually writing the comic books. That would be what I would prefer. Because then you could really get their perspective into the characters and stuff like that. Like, his argument is people of color in comic books bad, it seems like. Racist much. Of course, he's been on racist podcast. That was something we found on the video. He totally was on a racist podcast. So that's fun.
To Peter Parker Spider-Man, because he's got an incredible amount of responsibilities on his shoulders, and life is not easy. Marvel Comics at some point decided that he wasn't appealing to enough people because of his skin color. People...
Jesus Christ! Miles coexists with Peter! What's wrong with you? Why do you bring this up? And Miles is a great character too. It's not like they took Peter Parker and changed his skin color. He's a different fucking character. Dude, get over it.
Disagree with that. I mean, everyone loves Spider-Man. The fun thing about these stories was...
Yeah, and everybody that knows Miles loves Miles too. They've been clamoring for a Miles Morales movie. We kind of got in the Spider-Verse, but it'd be great to have a MCU Miles Morales too. At least I would think so. I'd love to see a team up with him and Peter Parker.
They were relatable because they were complicated. They were not perfect people. They were.
And these characters are perfect people? You're arguing that Miles Morales is a perfect person? Do you know anything about Miles Morales? Jesus.
Not perfect characters. These new characters that are being created by social...
Okay, yeah. The Snowflake and Safe Space and what was it? Trailblazer. I think somebody was trolling it. I think there was a writer at Marvel trolling, and now forever these guys that argue this stuff will have this cannon fodder, and it's kind of frustrating because this is cringe.
Social justice warriors, characters that, you know, they dug out.
Okay, what's wrong with that? That's a reimagining of Captain America. I don't... They're allowed to do that. Captain America doesn't always have to be a white guy.
Out of nowhere, I mean, Captain Marvel. This is a flawless character, and the reason...
Flawless? Flawless? Flawless. Okay, so she has been a fighter for the Kree Empire, only to find out the Kree Empire are the villains the whole time. Now, I do agree, the movie didn't really deliver that revelation as well as possible, but flawless?
And why is because they want to present this female superhero who is perfect in every way, and perhaps...
What? No, they just want to do a powerful female superhero. There's no problem with essentially having kind of like a female Superman equivalent. What's wrong with that?
She's non-binary, she's lesbian. These people are...
I need a source on that. I've not seen any evidence in the movies that she's gay. And... oh, the source is Giant Freaking Robot. Yeah, there are a couple steps below, like something like Screenrant as far as reputability. We're dealing probably not quite with We Got This Covered clickbaity range, but we're approaching it. Giant Freaking Robot just prints lots of articles, and yeah, I've not found them particularly reliable. You know what? If you're gonna do stuff like this, maybe shoot more for like Deadline or Variety. You can find articles like this everywhere. Go to We Got This Covered. I bet you on We Got This Covered, you can find a fucking headline and source for every fucking conspiracy in the goddamn world, and they won't be any more true.
Actually afraid to make characters that are believable and relatable, because...
How is being gay not relatable? I bet you lots of gay people find that relatable.
They're afraid they'll be insulting the marginalized group of people that they're supposed to be representing.
How? I mean, I think, what is his argument, that they're going to make all the gay and women and people of color perfect? Because they haven't been. They've been flawed. Just like the white characters. Yeah, this is him just pulling arguments out of his ass.
This is no way to tell stories. This is not how to do comic books. This is not fun.
So you suggest just everybody be a white guy. That's how we solve an issue of poor writing. All the poor writing will go away if they're all white guys. Right? Right? Every issue will have... Well, I don't even think this guy's been reading comic books at all. Like, I bet you he pointed out the Asian American Hulk. I bet you he couldn't tell us his name. Did he even say Miles Morales' name? He just said Black Spider-Man. He doesn't know shit. He's just clickbaiting.
It's one of the things that Comicsgate rose up in defiance of. All of the people who are supposed to be represented by these weird leftists who have wormed their way into the comic book industry, they resent it. They don't want to be represented this way. They don't feel like...
Yes, because people are really outraged over Miles Morales. Nobody likes Miles Morales. Didn't you know that? But everybody hates him.
They can be summed up by the color of their skin or their sexual identity or their...
You know, you would know these characters if you read a comic book. I haven't read about most of these characters. I've only read parts. Like, I've read some stuff with Amadeus Cho. I've read some Miles Morales stuff. Yeah, these are flawed characters. Miles is similar to Peter. He's not the same, though. He's an artist. Peter isn't an artist. Yeah, you clearly haven't read them, and you're just bitching because they're people of color, and you're low-key a racist, right?
Preference. There's something in here that Captain America represents, that Superman represents, Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman. It's in here. It's not out here.
Is it not something that Sam Wilson can represent? Is that your argument?
And that is a big problem. That is where we've gone wrong in comics. When I worked at...
People of color can have heart as well. I mean, that seems to be his argument. If you're a person of color, you can't have heart. I mean, what the fuck argument is that?
DC Comics. And I worked there for a good 20 years. I noticed a lot of strange things happening. I noticed that DC Comics every now and then, particularly in 2011, said, we're going to make some drastic changes to Superman. This is the way he looks now. He wears jeans. He wears jeans and a t-shirt. His spit curl that was shaped like a little letter S on his forehead, that's gone. Can't do that. And I pushed back a little bit on this because I didn't know why it was happening. I didn't understand that, like, the reason why this was happening was because DC Comics was currently embroiled in a copyright battle with the family of Jerome Siegel, the co-creator of Superman. And I realized that much later. Much to my chagrin, I realized that I was part of hurting the family of a character that I grew to love. That I grew up with Superman. He's my favorite superhero. If woke comics do not sell...
Wait a minute. What the fuck did that story have to do with anything? Like, I didn't know about that story as to why they changed his look, but what does it have to do with fucking anything you're talking about? You're talking about people of color taking over comic books, and then some random story about a legal battle with Superman, and now he wears jeans. It was just this complete non sequitur, dude.
You know, and they really don't. Mostly people are walking away. If they do not sell, why are these big corporations participating?
None. Comic books aren't selling anymore. New York Times isn't fucking selling anymore. You think comic books are fucking selling? That's the problem. They're trying to expand their tent. And in the case especially of Marvel, they're actually using comic books to experiment with characters, see which characters take off, and be like, okay, let's do a Disney Plus series on that character. Let's do a movie on this character. Let's do like a passing of the torch for this character. that's what they're doing right now. Because, yeah, they're going to have to change over these characters sometimes, and you can gauge the public's reaction through a comic book, so there you go. It's not that hard. It's absolutely a business decision.
In allowing SJWs to make woke comics. And one of the reasons is it's a very convenient way to virtue signal while robbing the families of these creators.
Robbing the families of the creators. Well, it all kind of depends on the contracts. Most of your famous comic book characters aren't owned by the creators, unfortunately. They're owned by the companies. Sure, you have some legal battles with Superman and stuff like that. But like a lot of the Marvel characters that were created by Stan Lee and probably some other creators are all under the Marvel banner, period. But yeah, it all depends on what contract they have. I doubt the idea is to rob the families of these people. Maybe it is, and that's kind of shitty. But I would still think, like, if you name, like, Miles Morales Spider-Man, I would think that would still give royalties to Spider-Man if you're still calling him Spider-Man. But it would all depend on the contract. And as I've said, that's a Stan Lee thing. I don't know. I know he was a writer for Marvel at that time. I don't know if he was the head honcho of Marvel at that time or the lead editor. He was pretty high up in Marvel for a while. So, and I'm certain Marvel just owns Spider-Man, and then Sony has some movie rights, of course. But yeah, that's not really what they're doing. They're just experimenting and seeing what sticks. It's a thing.
The comic book industry became pretty politically poisoned during the George W. Bush years. I started to notice, people knew I was a Republican. They just knew that. They knew I voted for George W. Bush when Trump won the election. I didn't realize what that had done to them.
Are we heading into the "oh, woe is me" part of the video? Because here's the deal. Being a Republican is not an issue. Being an asshole and rubbing everybody's face in it 24/7, that could be an issue.
These people's brains. I just didn't know. So I posted a picture of myself wearing a MAGA hat on Twitter. We won! Hooray! The level of hatred that came my way from people who I thought were my friends. They started to scour my social media for evidence that I could have been a white supremacist. They then mobilized amongst themselves as creative people to...
Fun fact, public figures get attacked on social media a lot. Now, they shouldn't be threatened with violence ever, but they are. I have been. I've been called lots of things. I've been called pretty much every name under the sun, and I guarantee you I've gotten less stuff than Ethan Van Sciver here has, especially because I don't like to cover videos from people who are smaller than me. But yeah, I've been called everything under the sun. I think my favorite thing is when people call me a pedophile, but they change the O to a 0 so it's not caught in YouTube detection. They think they're being so clever. Yeah, you just get called everything. It has no basis in reality. You need to grow a thick skin. If you don't want to get called names, you better avoid social media. You better not make YouTube videos, that's for sure. I'm not saying it's good, but it's part of internet culture. You want to cry about it, you can, but it's life on the internet.
Refused to collaborate with me. That is when they started writing hit pieces and articles, and I began to understand what can.
Well, here's the thing. There are lots of Republicans that work in Hollywood. I mean, it seems to me the issue is probably that you're kind of an asshole about it. That seems to be the issue.
Cancel culture was. This wasn't just people were mad at you. This was...
Oh yeah, and fun fact, you totally seem to be low-key racist, and people probably pick up on that shit because it comes through on your videos, so I imagine in real life it's quite prominent.
You have run afoul of a group of activists who were organized and who have tactics that they've utilized quite successfully to destroy the lives of people who have gotten in the way of their agenda. So I was actually warned to stay away from Comicsgate. And I said, I can't, they're right. And I was told that nobody was going to work with me again. And then...
Yeah, he's going to whine about being canceled even though he's a millionaire now. Poor fucking canceled millionaire. Oh, I'm crying for you, man. Boo fucking who, buddy.
And I was asked by DC Comics to sever my social media, to not use Twitter, not use...
If you don't want to get called names, yeah, probably a good move.
YouTube anymore. And I said, I can't do that because I have to stand up for myself.
Okay, you're allowed to stay on social media, but don't complain when people fucking call you names on social media, because they fucking do that. It's fucking social media. It's toxic as fuck. And you just gotta deal with that. I'm not saying it's good or right, but it's fucking reality. If you can't handle it, yeah, probably stay off.
I was expendable because continuing to employ me meant that DC Comics would be a continuing target for harassment by these people. We couldn't believe it. We could not believe that this was happening after 20 years. Cancel culture isn't just getting you fired. That's just part of it. It is destroying your name and salting the earth underneath you so that you cannot find a job anywhere else ever again. And if you do, they will be watching you and they will attack whoever it is dares to give you work. Anyone who dares to...
So he's telling this sad story, but he's gonna skip out on the part where he did a GoFundMe and raised over $1 million for a comic book that he is massively underpublished on. So he's a con man, if you break it down. Boo fucking who.
To treat you like a human being will come under attack by social justice warriors. So what do I think is going to happen? I think comics, the mainstream comic book industry is going to continue to limp along for a little while, but it cannot last forever because it doesn't offer anything wonderful anymore.
Well, the only way it's going to survive is it offers something new. And I don't even know if it will survive because everything dies eventually. Unfortunately, I don't want comic books to die. But, I mean, you should actually feel fortunate that they're doing these experiments with the characters and stuff like that. Because it's those type of experiments, essentially doing prototype tests for the MCU, that's going to keep the comic books alive for a bit longer. Because when they're doing that stuff, they don't actually need to really be making money at the comic books. Because the movies are going to make them like $1 billion fucking dollars. You just need you just need to see if the character takes it all. And then you can make a movie on them and make a fucking $1 billion. The sales of the comic book don't really matter at that point. So you should actually be supporting these changes. You know, experimenting with the different character variations. If you want comic books to survive. Because as they were, they're dying. And they're still dying. But at least now they have a little bit more energy under the movies.
SJWs are not concerned about telling a story. They're concerned about reprogramming the way that you think about social issues.
Source? You're going to need a fucking source on that one. No, it's not even SJWs. It's just giving people someone they can relate to. That's all it is. It's that fucking simple. You give somebody someone they can relate to. They can look at that character and say, that looks like me. Because our human brains are fairly simple. We do, like if a character looks more like us, we can associate with them better. You give them a character, you say, hey, that looks like me. They can associate them. They can kind of get with the character a bit more. And by like experimenting with, you know, different variations, different people of color in that same character, you expand your audience. It's business sense. Yeah. I believe the issue is you're just low-key racist.
That's entirely why they're doing this. And that's why they cannot tell good stories. They're not interested in that. That's not their...
You clearly haven't fucking read a comic book in a while, so you clearly don't even know if they're telling good stories. You're just saying they're not telling good stories, and you're not providing any sources. What's your backing? The Rotten Tomatoes of comic books, is that rating them all bad? Or what are you? Do you just not enjoy them? If you don't enjoy them, you just don't enjoy them. I've heard lots of people actually really love the Jane Foster Thor, Sam Wilson Captain America. Lots of people talk about these like they're great, which is why they're getting carried over into the movies. So, yeah. You're just saying I don't like it, but other people like it. It kind of nullifies your argument.
Their goal isn't to entertain you, it's to change you.
Their goal is to get your money. It's a fucking business. Jesus Christ. You're acting like it's a big goddamn conspiracy. They're just going for the money, dude.
We cannot fix what they are doing, what social justice warriors, what the radical left has done to the culture that was created before us. We have no choice but just to accept that. We cannot pry them loose. But what we can do is create our own new culture. Stan Lee did the same thing in 1961. He was disgusted by the political atmosphere of comics in the 1950s. His wife said, "Why don't you just do it your way? Just do a comic book your way." That was Fantastic Four #1, 1961.
Yeah, Stan Lee, who famously gave Captain America a black partner with Falcon because he wanted there to be more black representation in comic books, who famously made Black Panther because he wanted there to be more black representation in comic books. Essentially, Stan Lee was all for the things you're complaining about, and you're trying to use him as an example for your things. It doesn't work historically. A little bit of research is going to fight against you.
And that was the new start of the comic book industry, Marvel Comics. And now we are at that threshold again. We have to create new stuff. We have to. I brought back the character that I created when I was 19.
Yep, Cyberfrog. That's the series where he's ripping off everybody's money.
The most enthusiastic I've ever been about comics was when I created Cyberfrog. So he's going to be the first comic book that I bring back, and I'm going to do a whole new story arc with him, a whole new idea. I launched it, and it raised $1.1 million.
See, he's a fucking millionaire, and he's taking that money and not publishing comic books with it. Like, he's publishing way less than he's fucking supposed to, especially since he overfunded. Yeah. It's because he's a fucking con man. And do you think he truly wants to change anything? Because right now, he is selling his victim mentality to become a fucking millionaire. Do you think he truly wants to change comic books? No, he wants to make these stupid fucking videos to sell his point. Fuck this guy.
And this drove them absolutely crazy. This put me firmly in their targets now. I am public enemy #1 to them, and I've had many subsequent...
Boo-hoo, I hate this fucking crying from these people. Oh my god, they complain about snowflakes and then they're the biggest fucking snowflakes on the planet. Oh my god.
Successes. Cyberfrog 2, which I'm working on right now, these are oversized comics, raised $1.2 million. It's actually increased.
Oh god. Oh god, he's got at least $2 million now. Fuck. Oh Jesus.
And we made toys. We actually raised enough money to make Cyberfrog toys without Hasbro, without Mattel. Without Disney. We did it all by ourselves. The main problem with trying to do indie comics on your own is that you don't have the marketing and promotional arm that Warner Brothers and Disney have.
But don't worry, I can whine about how I'm canceled and become a multi-millionaire. I'm so sad. My life is tragic. Get the fuck over yourself.
If we just get together and we create comics and crowdfund them, we set them up on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, and then we direct people to those crowdfunded comics using our YouTube channels, it's going to work. I just want people to support independent comics and the Comicsgate movement. I think that is the future, and it's something that we can...
All right, supporting independent comics, awesome. You find a comic creator you like, support them. I'm 100% behind that. Fuck this Comicsgate thing. Just make the comic book, dude, if you just want to do Cyberfrog, you could do Cyberfrog. I don't give a flying fuck about Cyberfrog, but you want to do it, you do it. You make yourself happy. But you're doing it on this platform of, oh, isn't it awful that there was a lady Thor for a while and now Captain America is a black guy? Isn't that awful? And you haven't even fucking read it. I defy you to tell me that you've read it. I bet you haven't, because you're full of shit. Just, yeah. I think it's fair to say he's a racist.
And all do together. It's something that we can build together. I love it. It makes me happy.
Thank you, Daily Wire, for allowing Ethan Van Sciver to be the newest member of your wooden-brained collective. I mean, just so awful. I cannot handle these people. Just Jesus Christ. Just get over yourself with this shit. This victim mentality. Oh, they're all after me, and that's why I'm a millionaire. Yeah, you're a millionaire. Boo fucking who, buddy. I just can't handle these people. They are the worst. These people who scream about snowflakes are the worst snowflakes ever. Yeah. Cringe.
They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.